when the central banks try and control or try and generate growth in the economy, they do this by lowering interest rates. They get businesses interested in doing some investment. I mean industrial investment. But it's not one businessman. It's not a random process. Everybody does it because they see that, you know, there's bank credit suddenly available. So right from the start, they have the makings, if you like, of a business cycle developing. And of course, business cycles have ups and downs. And really, before central banks got going, you didn't really have these cycles. We did make the mistake, as I mentioned earlier, in the 1844 Bank Charter Act of not stopping banks from printing credit or creating credit.
Right.
So we did have the odd bank smash, if you like over-end Gurney and so on and so forth, when banks got into trouble. But that apart, it was a continual process of a free market with sound money, with continual improvement, development, and so on. And we became the most powerful, richest country on earth. And at the time, we were something like 22 million people. And now look at us. We're 70 million people and going down the tubes.
Well, a lot of
That's
people.
Keynesianism.
Yeah, no, I understood. You know, a lot of people misunderstand the essential nature, you know, of the empire. They think it was won by the British Navy, but in reality, it was won by the British pound.
It's British commerce, exactly, and it's you know, backed by a sound currency. There is no doubt that we were fortunate that our technology, the strength of our private sector, meant that we could exploit commercially all the opportunities that were presented to us. If such a situation occurred again, which of course is extremely unlikely, then I doubt if we would make such a good fist of it. We wouldn't have the opportunity, we wouldn't be able to do it simply because we would be working from such a weak background.
Yes. There's one other notable feature, you know, of the classical gold standard and government's role. I want to see if you agree with me on this. It's the rule of law. You know, government saw its responsibility back then as maintaining the rule of law, which is essentially assuring that there was a level playing field and that no one party had an advantageous position over other people who are participating, you know, in commerce and society and activity of all different sorts. And my sense of it is that, you know, governments have not only are they not maintaining the rule of law, but they become one of the biggest abusers of the rule of law. And have turned things around in a way that's really harmful to society in many, many respects.
I agree with you entirely, James. I mean, really, the root of this is contract law. And all commercial relationships should be governed by contract law. That was the way it always worked. So you knew where you were. If I entered into a transaction with you, I knew where I was, you knew where you were, and that was fine. And if one of us reneged on the deal, there would be legal recourse. The situation now is not nearly so clear. And as you say, government doesn't abide by the rules. In fact, they're the worst abusers of the rules.
Yes.
And it makes the business environment more difficult. And I really do think that a primary function of government is to ensure that the law of contract is clear and it can be enforced.
And enforced evenly. You know, the contract speaks for itself. It's not some clever wording a judge or government's intervention might add to what is in plain text, you know, the understanding and letter of intent between the two contracting parties.
I quite agree.
But that's the basic principle of traditional Anglo-Saxon common law.
Yes.
You know, fulfill all of your contracts, do no harm. You know, they're basically one and the same thing. And, you know, that's how society gets on with one another, operating and voluntarily interacting with one another to fulfill our needs and wants when we go into the marketplace.
Absolutely. And once you've got that in place, government should actually let the private sector alone. Because the idea that government actually know better how to spend your money and my money as businessmen towards their own objectives and benefit the economy is absolute rubbish. I mean, you know, but it is the Keynesian philosophy. For some reason, they seem to think that because the economy is stalled, it's our fault for stopping spending. So government then takes on the role of driving the economy. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Yeah,
it seems to me that we're on a road that basically is going to have a pretty ugly ending because this seems to be a structural problem that we're we're running into. One of my favorite quotes from Margaret Thatcher is that eventually, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yes,
and
yes.
I sort of think that, isn't that what's happening here?
It's exactly, we ran out of other people's money a long time ago.
And then we started creating money out of thin air to try to
yes.
keep going, but we're actually creating more problems than solving
Absolutely,
anything.
but that's accelerating, and we've now got a real clash. I mean, this is the time when, you know, it's make up your mind time as far as governments are concerned, because the deficits that they're trying to run, and it's all governments at the same time, are so large, and having destroyed so much of the global savings base, there isn't the money to finance it.
Yeah.
So either they've really got to cut, and I don't mean cut future budget plans, which we know are just vapor.
Which is the charade that just happened in the US.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They actually have to cut it. Everybody's got to cut it until we can get into the balance whereby savings will actually finance it. Now, not even that is ideal, because we're talking about a situation where government takes 100% of the available savings in their economies away from the private sector, and you're not going to get economic recovery so long as that persists. So they've got themselves into a debt trap from which there is no exit so far as I can see.
Well, I look forward to your future articles and, you know, the blow-by-blow steps as they try to get out of this debt trap that they're in. There is no, I think, good solution unless they do an about-face and try to go back to some kind of sound money basis. But I know there's no political will for that at the federal government in the U.S. There maybe is some possibility of doing something at the state government. Yes. And in fact, Utah's made a baby step in that direction. Unfortunately, I don't see anything like that underway here in the UK, but it will be interesting to see how it develops, and I look forward to reading future articles on the Gold Money site.
Well, thank you very much,
Alasdair MacLeod, thank you very much.
Thank you.